Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.
Now, this show covers a wide range of topics and current affairs. We have had really good response on our YouTube channel and our website, which is straight-talk.co.uk. Some very positive responses, as well as some critical comments. But of course, we welcome all of them. So please do check it out. So tonight we have a topic that I'm sure everyone likes to discuss. The unmarried looking at relationship and finding a suitable spouse, and married couples coping with the challenges of raising children, social issues, and promiscuous modern day relationships. This evening we want to look at the different type of relationships in this society. The positive and the negatives, the erosion of family values, and the whole concept of marriage or lack of it in today's progressive society. Please join in and share with us your experience on relationship and issues that concerns you or the struggle that you see in society. Our number is as usual 074 77080 248, or you can tweet us at Middle Path Radio. With us tonight, we have our two married gurus. They have had a very successful marriages.
Thank you very much.
And are in a good position to advise us, inshallah. Our permanent members to this show, Brother Khairul Islam and Brother Abdul Samad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Nice to have you guys back. So if you have missed any of our shows, you can listen to them from our website, straight-talk.co.uk, and you can download the podcast. You can actually go onto our YouTube, and we've actually have a link there where you can download the MP3 files, and you can listen to it at your ease, really. Inshallah, can I start with Brother Khairul, maybe? How do people in this society view relationships, where free mixing is encouraged, having relationship outside the marriage is the norm? In fact, marriage is seen as a backward, traditional form of relationship, has too many strings attached. I mean, what's your view? I mean, how do you see that?
Well, let's just start even before that, the importance of relationship. I mean, within humans, relationship is very, very important. And whichever society from the time of Adam, alayhi salam, there has been relationship, man and husband relationship, man and woman relationship, and then there's relationship in the family and so on. Yeah,
you can't avoid that, isn't it?
No, I mean, you can't. I mean, this is the nature of human being. Otherwise, it leads to misery. People can't actually live by themselves in the jungle or in their own flats. The relationship needs to happen.
Our producer is having a laugh. Go on.
Yeah, and I think the best way to assess that,
they can live in the jungle by themselves.
Well, I'd be surprised. Somebody would have to try that and let me know what happens.
It's a jungle out here.
Yeah, and the proof is you can see the proof. I mean, in a capitalist nation, we have to assess it from the economic side of things, and you can see the amount of money that is spent on dating sites and dating, events and things like that. And not only that, and so many things related to whether it's marriage, relationship counseling, or the body shape, the diet.
But there's so many programs.
Yeah?
I
mean,
the
cosmetic industry.
Yeah, if you look at Channel 4, if you look at ITV, if you look at BBC One, these mainstream media, main channels, they're actually producing a lot of these date shows. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
So in the olden days, these relationships would have been satisfied through family and through a relationship of husband and wife. So a marriage relationship.
That was the norm then.
That was the norm then.
Okay.
And this is the traditional form of relationship. But with modern, thinking, with the liberal thinking, basically everything. They started questioning these ideas, the marriage ideas, idea of marriage, the idea of traditional relationships, and said, look, who says it has to be like that?
Yeah.
And the question is, Who said it has to be like that? And
Because
then
it's not, I mean, the point you've made is, if you look at various relationships, obviously now you've got homosexuality, you've got this, dating. I think marriage is seen something that is very backward, isn't it? Do you think it's
outdated?
outdated? Really, it's because on liberal values or progressive society, like I said, can we, marriage is something that is not really that important.
I think the important thing to first of all understand and agree, if you like, is that human beings, they're social beings. They need to relate with other human beings. They need to coexist.
I think that was what Brother Khairul was making. Really,
exactly,
yeah.
that was Khairul's initial point. And there's no getting away from that in that sense. So we need to now. Historically, what we found is that it was mainly religions that were the key source of understanding relationship and regulating relationships. So whether you want to talk about Judaism, you want to talk about Christianity, you want to talk about Islam, all these religions, they actually took all that and understood the human nature. And it was it actually gave a very clear guideline in terms of how human beings need to regulate amongst themselves, that how they need to relate, what are the rights and wrongs of relationship, what are the rights and responsibilities of relationships. And this is something where in this new age, we're finding that the new liberal way of thinking has really come in to question and challenge some of the normative practices of the religion and the basis itself. And I think this is where, the discussion really needs to focus, and we need to understand how this is actually shaping the new society and new relationships. And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it positive? Is it
well, as a result of this discussion, I mean, the issue of relationship, does it have to be a marriage?
Yeah.
This is question. Does it have to be men and women? That is in question. And from that,
everything is in question.
Well, basically, as a it becomes the personal satisfaction, personal enjoyment. And here, different people have different ways of enjoying, and then other people want to try new stuff, new ways of enjoying. So liberal thinking has led to this issue of how do we regulate? Is there a need for regulation?
What do you mean by liberal thinking? What is that exactly?
Well, we know the push in terms of freedoms, personal freedom, and that if God and religion is not going to decide how we run our life, then how do we do it? It's ourselves. We decide how we're going to do things in life.
Okay.
But there's a bit of a contradiction, because if you look at the economics, for example, there is huge number of laws and rules, and even if it's a business contract, we make a contract, and then we make sure that our all our wealth is safeguarded, and we cannot be abused and utilized. Our resources can't be utilized by our partner. So when it comes to economics, we realize that as a capitalist society, that for us to be able to do things together, we need laws and rules and all that stuff. But the problem is, on a personal factor, it isn't there.
Okay, so
there's a fundamental flaw with this whole philosophy of liberalism, where it pushes the whole basis of regulating or organizing human lives on the basis of freedom. Now, first thing that needs to be acknowledged is that this is actually quite impossible, because human beings, in truth, can never be truly free, completely free. There has to be, everybody understands, even the liberalists understand, that there has to be a certain amount of regulation, certain amount of
you mean laws,
regulations in order to make
for
sure
functioning society.
That's right.
Laws.
Yeah. Otherwise there will be chaos, isn't it? Yeah. So and I think what Brother Khairul was saying is that on certain issues in a liberal society, you will find that they're very meticulous, and they will look into every details and try to regulate all of these things to make sure that things are in place and there's no abuse or there's no
Well, let's just
disorder.
Let's just take
but
it back
when
to
it
the
comes
top.
to relationship, it's there seems to be very little sort of like regulation or organization,
Brother
and
Khairul
it's
in,
left to the individuals to really decide how they proceed with any relationship.
Well, let's just take it back to the topic in the sense that, in the relationship, different people have different ideas of what a relationship should constitute. So you've got some people, they talk about love, that, there needs to be love. Others, the lust, and some people have, they don't want to commit to anything. They want independence.
It's
so
the
they
commitment, isn't it?
Well, some people don't want to.
That's the problem. That's
one of the problems.
one of the problems.
There's many problems. I'm talking about one of the problems is some people want to commit. Other people don't want to commit. Other people want relationship with many different people. Other people want more. Basically,
one
about satisfying themselves. This is a dilemma that the society is in. If it was, you could have left it if everyone had the same view of what a relationship is, then everyone knew exactly what they would want from a relationship. But when you have a mixed bag of things
undefined,
that people want, undefined, you have, as a result of that, it leads to other problems. Yeah?
I think it might be worth actually broadening the discussion beyond.
You can. You're free to. You're the guru here. You can discuss as much as you want.
What I'm saying is that when we're talking about relationship, I think we need to broaden the discussion to not just maybe spouse or husband and wife or boyfriend girlfriend. Rather, we need to even talk about maybe relationship between maybe father and son, or mother, uncles, relatives. Because even in all these areas as well, you'll find that there's a lot of ambiguity, uncertainty when it comes to rights, responsibilities, and things like this. And this is one of the phenomena that you will see more so in the Western world, is that there's a complete breakdown of the family structure because it's in question. People are questioning how important is the family, and what should be the responsibility towards even maintaining or organizing or living in a family structure. Why can't we just be independent, or So
it's that thinking that you want to question, really.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, because this.
I have someone can easily say, what's the problem with defining for yourself what kind of relationship you want and who you choose to love? What's the problem? Because if you and me, we go into a contract and it's between you and me, then there's nothing wrong with that. Do you see?
Yes. So from a liberal point of view, why I can decide how I want to live my life. But the problem is,
it's a relationship, isn't it, that you and me are getting into. And if we are happy, both of us are happy, then the third person shouldn't have a problem, really.
Yeah, the problem is, inevitably, if there is no clear definition of what a relationship is, then there is no clear right or wrong. That's the problem. And what happens is, as a result of that, one person will expect something from a relationship, another person expects something else from the relationship, and then you have, some people will exploit other people. So you have, for example, prostitution. Some people think, okay, my relationship, all I need is the sexual part of it. I can go and do it with somebody, pay something, but look at what that does in terms of exploitation, in terms of breaking up of families. Other people might, just go to dating, and all they want is one night stand. And the person on the other end thinking that they want love, they want this relationship, lasting relationship. They don't know until the day after. These are the things that's happening. The people, in terms of they're in marriage, in a stable relationship, and then they want extra, so they go into promiscuity, and as a result of that, there's family breakage, and then you've got pornography, rise of pornography. What do you expect? If there is no definition, if there is no right or wrong, then all of these appears, and then there's deviation, what we would call deviation in terms of bestiality, pedophilia, and so on. All of those things. And then in this scenario, why wouldn't you have gay and lesbian, the homosexual relationship. Why is that wrong? Or bisexuality, or even threesome and whatever they call it, and swinging and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
I'm very sorry.
We want to keep it.
I think just
we
to
want to do 18 rated here. Yeah. If you've just joined us, we are discussing relationship in liberal society. Should it be dating? Should it be love, lust, or marriage? So please join in. Give us a ring. Our number is 074 77 080248. Or you can tweet us at Middle Path Radio. We are having a very heated discussion here. So sorry, Abdul Samad, you wanted to come in.
Just to sort of maybe correct you on your question. First of all, when you said that if two persons decide that they want to get into a relationship, why should the third person object in any way whatsoever? But the fact remains, human beings, we don't always just have just one-to-one relationship. Because we're social beings, we always have other people who will naturally be affected by even the relationship, the sort of relationship that you're talking about. So, like, for example, when we're talking about children are a consequence of relationships, and their welfare. Somebody has to look into that. Somebody has to take responsibility over that. Somebody has to be concerned, and the consequences of these things can be very, very damaging. Though we may overlook some of these things, and this is what's happening actually. A lot of single mothers are actually suffering, and a lot of children, as a result, are also suffering. They're victims now. Who is going to compensate? Who is going to take responsibility for all of this? Do you see? So it's not always just a person then decides that they want to have a relationship with someone in a particular way, and that's it. Nobody should have a say. That isn't a very organized society. That could lead to potential harm for a lot of people, whether it be emotional, physical, or other.
I think what you've tapped on is quite important. It's the consequences. I think that's where people don't realize, isn't it? So you can actually go into this promiscuous relationship, and what comes out of it is what you can't control. So for example, we see that it's an epidemic in this country, especially of single parents, mothers raising a couple of kids, and you can see the effect that it has on the children. Sorry, brother Khairul, you wanted to...
Yeah, just going on to the effects of this. So it's like, I'm not saying all marriages or all relationships are, there is no stable relationship. Yes, there are. And there are good relationships, and there are people that lived for 50 years together. These things have happened, but most cases, there's a huge problem. There's a crisis of a problem. When two people meet for a relationship, it's like picking off a straw, of a set of straws. And most of the time, there's huge consequences. I mean, just take the statistics in this country, for example. 2 women are killed every week because of domestic violence.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a huge number. And then on top of that, there's a huge number where they don't report domestic violence, even though they are in a violent relationship, they stick with it, because the thinking is, look, if I leave this person, who am I going to get next? Because there is no regulation. That's the best I have. Yeah. So even before there's at least 35 incidents of domestic violence before they even report it first time, and then after that, even after they're reporting, they still go back to those people.
What do you think that is?
These are the statistics, because the world out there is very harsh, very difficult, and if there's no regulation, if there's no system, then whatever I've got, that's probably the best thing I've got. This is the thinking, and from that, the suffering that the children, the abuse that children get. I mean,
that's something that someone touched on.
Yes,
really, yeah.
About 20% of children in this country are exposed to domestic violence, and out of that,
Some of these children, they turn out to be quite violent as well, isn't it? Because they see. I mean, you learn from your parents or the carers, isn't it?
That's right.
that's right.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, that's interesting.
No, I mean these sort of things could lead to all sorts of things. I mean, like if you want to talk about
Crime, maybe.
crime, drug
Yeah.
abuse, all sorts of things. Even like suicide.
Not doing well in education.
Yeah.
There's broken down families. We know when these are the most vulnerable kids that are in society, and as a result, the pedophile rings and people like that pick them up as well, and that leads to other things. I mean, it's astonishing when you read some of the statistics.
It's a domino effect, isn't it?
This domestic violence thing is quite astonishing as well. More people die out of domestic violence than out of gestational diabetes or eczema and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just
amazing. So when people seek to have a relationship, they would generally want to get to know them, live with them, test it out, and then if they're happy, they would then think of marriage. Doesn't this sound a logical way of thinking? Is there a problem with that? Because at the end of the day, they do want to get married, but they want to find the right person for them. So.
See, the question is when we talk about marriage, if you want to look at
relationship,
if you want to talk about from marriage specifically, if you want to look at it from the perspective of Islam, we find that marriage is actually a contract. It's a very clear sort of like there are rights and responsibilities that are included in that contract. So it could be seen like a business contract even. And because Islam actually understands that human being, they need this regulation in their social life, in their relationships, and for this reason we find that it's very meticulous in terms of what the rights and responsibilities are, what the duties of each party is in this relationship. And then it also extends towards their children and extended family and things like this. So you can see, generally, I mean, it's very regulated. Whereas in the West, they talk about marriage, and it's quite ironic actually, because on the one hand, you have dismissed this whole concept of God having to interfere in your life and decide, on how the relationship needs to be organized, but then you're getting married. So what is the value or the weight of this marriage thing? I mean, what does it actually mean? Especially because it's funny, because there's a lot of non-Muslims or atheists that also then get into marriage. But what is this marriage? Do you see it? Because there's no real meaning to it. And if you take out the whole concept of God, if you take out the whole concept of God, then there's actually nothing left in this marriage. It's just any other relationship.
Tradition, it could be.
Exactly, and that's what's happened, really.
The whole concept of marriage and the idea of what marriage means is quite messed up in the society. And as a result, unfortunately, the Muslims are also affected by this understanding. And if you look at it, firstly, how do I balance my ideal of personal freedom, personal and financial independence with that is defined by society as success, with living with someone and losing some of my independence? This is a problem. And then on top of that, marriage, the idea of marriage, it's society has taken the Christian definition of it, till death do us apart, or in sickness and in health. If you think about it, if I'm your logic that you pointed out, if I'm a general person, do I really want to get into this kind of marriage where till death do us apart, or in sickness and health, and that I know I could be stuck with this person forever? Yeah.
What if he or she becomes ill after I get married? How do I get rid of it?
Yeah, well, that's why it becomes very hard to commit to this kind of relationship, marriage. But I can easily commit to boyfriend and girlfriend. Why? Because I can, I don't like the person, I can just leave.
You can easily walk out.
Yes, easily walk out. So it's easy to actually, not commit to marriage. But the whole thing is, the way Islam defines marriage it's completely different. And what it does is it protects the vulnerable, it protects the women, it protects those who can't be protected. Because when in just a casual relationship, people are being abused, whether it's through date rape, which is happening, and then people think that they are in a secure relationship, and then suddenly somebody will walk out, and there's no consequences as a result of that. And then there's single parent
lack
family,
of trust,
and then the single parent family. So all of these things happening. So Islam basically, it says as soon as you want to get into a relationship, which could be, for this society, from a liberal point of view, it is when you say, hands off, this is my girlfriend. At that point, it puts in a nikah, which has connotation, which has a whole set of laws and rules as a result of that in terms of responsibility.
I want to come into that because I think Abdul Samad and you, both of you've touched something, and Samad, you've discussed about when it comes to other issues, they have a rule. I've noticed when it comes to business, economics, education, every institution in this society, there are rules and regulations. A system to organize it. However, when it comes to relationship and how to satisfy oneself, it's left open. Can you discuss that a little bit more? Because you talked about Islamic relationship in terms of that there's a contract. You go into a contract. So yes, the moment you're ready, whether you're 17, 18, and if you feel that you need to, it's that time for you to go out and spread your wings, then you can get married. But obviously, with marriage, there's certain rules. You have to pay nikah and all of these things that come in. You have to pay dowry. Sorry, not nikah. You have to have nikah and dowry and all that stuff. And it's the whole family gets in, especially if you're an Indian family, you'll find the extended families have a say, and it's almost like the whole community is involved in your decision, or your family is definitely. So why is it that in this society that they would look at other business, economics, education, and it's very thorough, it's very debated, and the rules are very thorough. But when it comes to relationship, it's left open.
Kamal, you've hit the nail on the head. I think that's the failure of, if you like, modern liberalism, where the society values certain issues like the economics, like money, like personal wealth and so on. We can see there's huge meticulous forms of contracts that are out there, and checks and balances, so that their money is not stolen, the money is not taken, and they are doing well, because a capitalist society values money so much. But whereas
it's not on the economics, even on education. If you look at the education system, they've got so much.
It's all related to money, really. Because it's from a capitalist point of view. That's why there is a huge failure. Well, there might be. I'm not saying that in education there isn't. But just to point out, one contrast this with the other, where liberalism, there is no regulation or any kind of idea of what a good relationship is. Now, think about this. People's relationship is, for some people, that is their life. They will say, this is the purpose of my life, is that I am in a loving relationship. And so these kind of things is a huge part, if not a very, very important part of every human being. Is to be a human. This thing is to be a human.
Everyone wants to be loved. Like, somebody you mentioned about family. Of course, if I don't have a good family where I can go home and I know my parents are happy with me, my wife is happy, the children that I have, there's a good relationship, so then you feel good, isn't it?
No, so there is a huge need here just going on to actually say, the people that are getting into these kind of relationships, they need to be protected. Whether you protect them through a system or however, liberalism needs to provide a system to be able to protect those people, because people need relationships, and as a result of that, they are being abused.
No, the point is, as we mentioned earlier, we are social beings, and we need to be able to relate with other human beings. And if you are in constant doubt about the people that are around you, if you cannot define your relationship with people around you, then really you live in a limbo. isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
if you live in a relationship where you can't trust your partner, as an example, I mean, this could have effect on your health. This could have effect on your social, psychological situation. Do you see? So, meaning that, and this is the thing, isn't it? You know, we need to be able to know how we relate and exist with people around us at all times. And this is what Islam has given us, very clear, with guidelines, with rules. And when you have these guidelines and rules, there can also be accountability. And you can account somebody, or you can demand of somebody, isn't it? And this is...
There's consequences. That's what you say.
Exactly.
I mean,
there
if
should be
your business
consequences.
fails, if you fail to pay the bank, then, something's going to happen. Yeah. Whereas, you have a relationship, and because of that, there's a child. Because of this consequence, you have a child. Then the mother or the father can walk away easily.
These problems are epidemic levels. I mean, this week, we had statistics in terms of a workplace, and it says half of women in work are being sexually harassed.
Yeah.
This is the nature of the problems, and we've experienced it ourselves. Where there's a young lady who's a colleague of mine, and she was engaged to another colleague within work, and then he had an office party, and then he's messed with somebody else in the office party, and then that's a breakup.
Yeah.
These kind of things are is a part of
I think my initial point was, and I think maybe I don't mind you guys going back and forth. It's not a problem. Yeah. Do you think that this society is highly sexualized? That you've just mentioned a woman being abused or being harassed, sexually harassed in the workplace, but we find that even on TV, movies, anything, even adverts. The adverts, they want to sell a dog product, or I don't know, something very innocent, but they would have a naked lady presented.
Of course, this is
everything is sexualized.
Of course, this society is very sexualized. Actually, if you understand that we're talking about freedom, liberty, enjoy your life. This is all you have. This type of culture, where everything should be left to freedom and entertainment and enjoyment, then of course, this is what you would expect. You would expect a society to sort of be free to enjoy themselves in whichever way they like, with whomever, however they like. But what doesn't get taken into account are the consequences.
Yeah,
and this is so they're happy to gauge and monitor the pleasure side of things, but they're not willing to look into the statistics what Brother Carl just presented, which is 52% of the women are being sexually harassed at work.
Wow.
So these things are kind of like overlooked, or and they never they never really investigate the true suffering and the hardship and the problems that are being, suffered by these individuals.
Brother Khairul,
and the trouble is that they're not looking at the cause and the root of all these things. And maybe this is where we need to look into what are the true causes. What are the true causes of such, misery that this society is producing?
Yeah, the other thing that we've missed, I think, is how the relationships and the types of relationships, or how to go about it. It's a lot of it is played in the media through movies and so on. I mean, look at EastEnders. Yeah, and that'll tell you, what kind of relationships are acceptable. Where they go to Spain and sleep around, and they come back and they realize, they slept with the sister. Yeah,
La hawla.
these kind of things happen, and then there's other kind of stuff. The problem is all of these also affecting the Muslims and the Muslim children. So what is normal? The relationship is outside marriage. This is normal. This is what is seen when these celebrities and these movies, high-fi movies, and millions of dollars being spent on these movies.
You normalize this.
These things become normal.
Yeah, you normalize it, because if that means this is what you live for, this is what you want, means pleasure, this is what life's about, this is what you're creating. You're creating a certain perception, isn't it?
And what Brother Samad is saying is really the consequences of that. Nobody's actually looking at the consequences. And I think that's why there needs to be a regulation in terms of the relationships, because the consequences is huge.
Can I just quickly also add, you talked about maybe, love in a relationship. Or is it just love? I think there's, of course, love is very, very important. That attraction, we live in a loving relationship where, even if it be like, with the spouse or even the family, the children, mother, father, there needs to be love. But if you understand, human beings actually, our first sort of like a zone of protection where we feel protected and we feel we're cared for, we're looked after, or somebody's going to look out for us, is actually within our immediate family circle. Now think about this. Once this is broken, we are everything. Even adults can become very vulnerable.
Yeah.
When you don't have a family support. Support base, guidance, support base, people, somebody who can give you sincere advice without sort of like any particular bias or anything, just for the sake of your well-being. The first sort of people we turn to is actually the family. Now, once that is gone, we are very vulnerable to this ruthless, deadly world out here. Where people can be exploited, people can be manipulated, people can be harmed.
Yeah.
And
especially youngsters,
especially the young.
We find out that the grooming gangs.
Now we're talking about relations. Let's talk about how it may even affect us as we get older. Yeah. If we don't have people around us, a lot of the elderly people in this society are also very vulnerable. They are not looked after. They rely on state-sponsored visitors to come and do their groceries. Think about this, yeah. Many carers, yes. Yeah. Many elderly, they die without even anybody noticing, anybody knowing, until the postman realizes that it's been a week and nobody's collected the post, or the milkman knocking on the door and there's a stench of some sort, and they report it to the authorities. So these sort of things. I mean, like, you can see, elderlies, they're being neglected. Now, what is causing this neglect? It's actually the breakdown of the family unit and the family structure, where everybody in a capitalist society is going out there to maximize their pleasure without taking responsibilities. So, and this is the important thing. In Islam, there's a balance. There's a fine balance, and
I'm going to come into. I want to discuss the Islamic viewpoint on this, but before I do that, I'll just read out a text. And if you want to maybe take that on, then you can, or you can just, I'll just read it out anyway. Every system in society has rules and regulations. Why is it then that relationships don't, and is left to personal choice? Is it just a personal matter, or do relationships have a more societal impact? Who defines our choices, humans or someone greater? Okay, I think we've actually discussed this quite. Abdul Samad went on and discussed this point quite thoroughly. Let me go on to discuss the Islamic view. I mean, how does Islam view relationship between men and women?
Okay. Islam recognizes the human being and the instincts that needs to be satisfied, and one of the instinct that we have been talking about is the very human thing of relationship, of procreation, to be able to socialize, to live with other people. So because it's such a very important part of the human being, Islam has put a social system, a code of conduct, a code of law to regulate this very important.
What do you mean by social system?
So so what is done is put certain rules and laws so that when people do mix in these kind of relationships, they are not exploited, and that each is given their own due right in that sense.
Sorry, just give me an example of like what rules are placed. I mean,
basically, I mean, you talk about the man.
Yeah.
The man has a very clear definition of what a man is and what his rights, what his role, what his responsibilities is towards anyone else. And then you talk about the woman. The woman has a very clear definition in terms of her rights, responsibilities, and role, and how they come together, how they don't, in what situations they can mix, what situation they can't mix. So all the rights and all the rules are very clear.
I think what I was hinting at, and I'm glad you've actually made that point, is because if you look at man and he said, look, he has certain rules. He can, it's called mehram, meaning those people who he can see. So his mother, his sister, his wife, that he can see without hijab, without covering, or he can be alone with them. Do you see?
That's right.
And the same goes with the woman. This is what
That's
I meant
right, yeah.
when I said, what are the rules? What is it that is
So not
defined?
only that, I mean, there's others. I mean, so one of the things is primary provider is the man in the house, and then the women they are responsible for the nurturing and creating a harmonious society, which is vital. But again,
the thing is, look, someone could say, see, you've just started off on the wrong foot. How can you say that? Even some Muslims, they will say that, look, how can you say that primary role of a woman is to stay at home and cook?
We're not saying cook. Basically, what we're saying is build either you let other people build your children, or you have a say in how you build your children. Who's the best person placed? Islam put a certain system in place, but that doesn't mean that it restricted the women just in the home, because she is able to advance her career if that's what she wants, or even advance in business or high offices. And we can see from our history of Islam in terms of littered women, littered with many women who were in these kind of positions, even from the start of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha radiallahu anha was a very learned scholar that people used to go to, Aisha being the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife. And then he appointed the judge for the Qadi Hisba, which is the marketplace, the judge in the marketplace, a woman named Samra bin Nahik, and she was a judge appointed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to go around and check if the businesses were delivering what they were saying, and if not, she had a couple of people with her who would bring them out, and they would be lashed. So it was quite high position.
When you mean by primary role of a woman and primary role of a man, and you said the men are to go out and work, and woman is at home building the household, teaching the children, and all of this stuff. To someone in this society, they'll think, well, look, that's equality.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, even some of the Muslims, some of our sisters who are career women, you'll find that they're doctors. They are in high position. It's very difficult.
There's nothing wrong with being in high position. I think that's probably misunderstanding what Brother Karo was saying, and he's given an example of that. There's nothing wrong with even pursuing a particular career. If women want to, they are free to do that. But and what you'll find with the sort of Muslims that you're talking about, unfortunately, some of us have been affected by the liberal society environment that we have lived in and we've grown up in. In Islam, Islam clearly makes a distinction between the man and the woman, and we shouldn't shy away from this. You know, Islam does make this distinction, and it's obvious to any human being that there is a difference in terms of the biology, in terms of the physics, in terms of the mentality, in terms of even the physical strength of a man and a woman. It is different. It is different, and to deny that is actually a form of oppression itself. To deny that and then claim that all is equal.
Okay,
Do you see? Is oppression, because
I don't want to go into the rights of women. We'll do another discussion.
No, I don't want to go. I'm not going into rights, but what I'm saying is here, you know, if we can understand and appreciate the difference between the man and the woman, then we can understand that they are clearly suited for different roles and different tasks and different responsibilities. It's not to say that one is superior over the other. We're just naturally different, and this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, and we shouldn't feel that because we're living in this liberal society where there's a drive for equality between man and woman, then somehow we need to make Islam fit in and conform with that worldview. Do you see? And I think this is where the problem is.
Yeah, I think the other point is that, you know, you need to look at responsibility. Where does the responsibility lie?
Yeah.
If somebody wants to go out, for example, to work, you know, Islam does not, you know, say that that person can't go out to work. Or if they have an arrangement where, you know, the husband says, "Okay, wife, I'll do the cooking.
Stay at home.
I'll do the cooking today."
Since you're earning more money than me, I might as well do the work at home.
Yeah.
You know, you carry on. It's a fair agreement. You know, Islam's not going to prevent, you know, this couple
it
from...
doesn't prevent that. But where it is in terms of if there is an issue, there's not enough food coming into the plate, into the household, and the husband says, well, I'm not going to work, and the children are not being brought up properly, they're not being looked after, and then the wife says, no, I'm not going to do that, Now, how do you solve the problem?
Who do you account? I think that's the key point. You've just actually
how do you
made
solve
a very,
those
very important point. It's because accountability. Who takes that? In a business, you know, you've got so many managers for different sections.
Yes.
And if one fails, the other one is accounted. This person will account the other person saying, why did you not do this?
See, my question is...
That's what you mean by... This is what I'm trying to get into.
It's a good example that you raised.
Yeah.
In a business, is everybody equal?
Nope.
Well, that's a bit unfair, isn't it?
Oh no!
You know, there's a big problem there. You know,
in terms of responsibility, this is the point.
Do you see? So this is the point. This is the point.
That's why when Brother Khairul, when he said, "Look, it's actually responsibility," that makes sense. I can appreciate that. That look, you know, unless I take this responsibility, and what you've just said in the beginning when we started discussing Islamic viewpoint, and you said, look, you know, Allah has given a man and woman different roles and responsibilities, and if we neglect this responsibility, this is what you said, this is what will happen. You will have a breakdown of families. You have that in the Muslim family. You know, we should be, you know, quite open. There's a lot of problems in the Muslim community at this moment.
Look, Islam recognizes women might want to do whatever they want to do. So where in a liberal society women couldn't serve in the military, we have these cases, Islam allowing women to serve in the military 1400 years ago. In the Battle of Uhud, we had a sister serving. And if you look at, you know, other positions, there has been, I mean, the first university. Who created the first university? Morocco, it still exists. And we know it was a Muslim sister that was behind that university. Whether it's mathematicians, you know, we've got Muslim mathematicians who are women. So there's never been any restriction. So this idea of Islam restricts women to the home is completely a fallacy, and it's incorrect.
Okay. Okay, that's very good. And a good point. Well, thank you for interrupting me, Abdul Samad. It just showed me something on the phone. You know, Islam gave marriage, like you said, as a solution to fulfilling this instinct in a halal manner. But these days, getting married is so difficult because you need 20 to 30K, 30 to 40,000 for wedding. You know, or you have to have a house. You need to have a successful job. be highly educated. Don't all of these obstacles make marriage seem impossible in the Muslim community?
Can I just say, I think this is what has happened to us, our society. You know, the shaitan has really played with us, and it has made what is lawful in Islam, what the right way in Islam, a very difficult path for many of us, and it's left wide open all the paths to evil, all the paths to corruption and family breakdown and all these things. So I think we have a massive challenge in our hand, and we need to really, overcome this collectively, whereby discussing these things more, and like the show we're having today. I think this is why it's a very, very important show. That and we need. There are the discussions taking place in the masajids. I've heard a lot of talks about these things, which is very good. But unfortunately, not everybody in our community is actually engaging in these types of discussions and things like this, especially the youth.
What do you think that is?
Yeah, it's because because a lot of the youth are not coming to mosques. A lot of the youth are.
Do you think this is like sometimes you go into this marriage talk and it just goes over your head? It's irrelevant sometimes.
We need to make it relevant.
It can't be practical. I mean,
that's right.
Why can't we be open and discuss practical?
That's right. I think parents need to, really also come into this discussion, where they are talking and nurturing their children with the right attitudes towards relationship and understanding the Islamic point of view.
The point I want to go, the main question.
Just before you do that, just on that, I think another thing is the baggage that we carry from where our parents have come from, and that's a huge problem as well. Because this thing of spending, 50k, 100k, or even more, £1,000.
It's easier to have a girlfriend.
It's easy. That's the thing. So Shaitan has made it easier for the haram things to happen, and halal things is very, very difficult. On top of that, why would you want to go into a marriage where you might be stuck with the mother-in-law in the home, and this is kind of concepts that we have brought from India, for example.
We'll have to do one on mother-in-law and relationships.
And then the concepts of as earlier I was talking about what is marriage, and then the beauty industry and all of those kind of things. It makes it so much more harder for us to be able to do that. On top of that, the traditional marriage system has been where the linkage between families and communities and so on, and we're in a society which is built on individualism and individuals, and so people are very individual in their little pockets, and they are not meeting other families, so it's becoming more and more difficult for even the Muslim community to find the right bride or find the right husband. In the Muslim
community, we have the concept of arranged marriage. So, I mean, is that a good thing? I know that's a big subject. Maybe we'll have to do another show on arranged marriage. But I mean, there is. That's a good thing, don't you think? What do you think? Do you think it's arranged marriage?
Yeah, it's a very good thing actually, because.
Or is it a bad thing? Because you don't know who you're marrying. It could be your father that finds the bride and you're stuck.
Well, really, we should place some trust in our fathers. If we have a right relationship with our fathers in the first place, then we should expect good from them. That they will find somebody who is suited. Because in many respects, you will find that parents seem to know their children much better than they themselves. And what, from my experience, what I found is that the children that actually go against the wishes of their fathers, especially when it comes to relationship, they don't always do so well. But I mean, that's generalizing. Obviously, I mean, I'm sure there are many relationships that do go well. But but the point is, the point is, I think parents, obviously, they have your best interest at heart. And
we've got only 5 minutes, so I want to try and go for. I've got so many questions here. It's just we'll have to do another show.
Mr. Kamal, and let me just add my little bit on this.
Go for it.
All the celebrities, Andy Murray, they all have agents who look out for them
Yeah.
in terms of their business whatever contract.
Good.
This
Very
is
good
quite
point.
important. Now, for the if you think about it,
All the
for
popsters, they have agents.
everyone's got agents,
Yeah.
to look after their interests.
Mhm.
The people that are best placed to look after our interests as individuals are our parents, because they only have goodness within their hearts for us. They have brought us up. They have goodness, and so what happens is an individual can be really naive at this time. They can easily fall into love or lust, and then what happens is they make decisions that are very rash. And the person that can really think rationally at those kind of situations are the parents who are looking out for you.
I mean,
And this is the role that they play. And as a result of that, you have, a
just
harmony.
to go back to my initial point. Sorry, I want to try and rush you because we haven't got time, yeah. But when you're looking for like a house, success, how do you outweigh these? I mean, family.
Well-
This person. I know sisters, brothers that they're very old now because they can't find a spouse because they've got expectations. They know he has to be or she has to be in a certain way. Especially for a woman when she reaches over 35 and in her 40s, it's very difficult
Well,
for her.
who is better than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give us guidance on this matter? And we find that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made the way to marriage very easy. He advised that if a righteous man asks for your daughter, then give her to him.
Yeah. Vice versa.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see? So, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also advised the young men to get married as soon as possible. He never made it a condition that you need to have a house and you need to have a job. And in fact, there's another narration where a man was married and he was in poverty, and he went to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, "What do I do? I mean, I'm in poverty, yeah." And he said, "Get married again." And he thought, "Hold on a minute, I'm already in poverty. I'm having trouble feeding my first wife." But he still took the advice from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he got married again. But after a few months, he came back and he said, "I'm still in poverty." And then he said, "Get married again," and he got married again. And then he was still in poverty, and he came back and said, "Get married again." And after he got married the fourth time, he found a woman that was actually very skilled in a particular craft. And with that craft, actually, she taught all the other wives, and then they started up a very successul business, and he became very wealthy. So
the advice is get married again and again up to 4 if you're in poverty. Yeah. I don't think your wife is listening to the show.
I think my point in narrating this is that we shouldn't worry about poverty as a reason for us to not get married. If we do have a chance, I think we should get married. There's nothing wrong, and surely it makes your journey easier. When you have a partner who will be willing to support you, who will be willing to watch your back, and then together, obviously, you will achieve more than what you would achieve individually.
Well, if you look at marriage, people marry for 4 different reasons. So it could be the wealth. She's really, really rich, and I can share their wealth with her. Obviously, beauty. People marry because somebody is really, really very pretty.
Mhm.
Yeah. People marry because of status, because it's a certain family. If they get married to that family, then they'll be higher up in the status in the society. And people marry for piety, because someone's really, really pious, and we have to look at the end of the day, the reason, the result of the marriage is our children.
Yeah.
And who would I like for my wife as mother of my children? And then you start thinking, no, the person that's pious, they are probably the best people placed, because they are best people to raise my children.
The advice from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this matter was that from all these 4 things, though they're all valid, you should prioritize the piety of the person that you're marrying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So inshallah.
So you know what? I'll have to this question is important, I think. So we'll just go over a couple of minutes. How can the Muslim community protect this institution of marriage? And how can it be an example to the wider society and to show the importance of marriage?
Well,
Just, just
I
couple
think
of
I
words
touched on
maybe.
it earlier. I think we need to be more vocal and discuss these issues more widely in a way that is understood by our youth mainly.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
yeah.
think at this moment it's our youth that are most likely to fall victims of this situation. And as well, we need to challenge some of the current culture, which has become an obstacle in us pursuing the right path to
Yeah.
to
Especially
the right
boyfriend,
relation. That's right.
girlfriend
Yeah.
and
So these
dating.
sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and this responsibility doesn't just lie with the imams in the mosque, and doesn't just lie with with your guests on Straight Talk.
My two gurus on Straight Talk.
I think this discussion needs to happen on the ground with the youth,
Absolutely, yeah.
discussing widely, and inshallah.
The problem is sometimes we go to kind of a slumber sleep, and we don't realize that this is going to affect me and my children very soon, because they're coming to age, and where they get their relationship and the ideas of the relationship is very important for us to understand. That they're watching these movies, they're watching these EastEnders
They're
and
bombarded with these
Stars,
films
Olsha and stuff, all sorts of stuff that they watch, where they're bombarded with certain ideas of how a relationship should be. We need to understand that. When we need to be upfront in discussing the ills of these kind of relationships, and showing the beauty of Islamic relationship, and showing how it is a solution to mankind, and that should be to the wider society as well, because they should see the family functioning, in a Muslim family functioning, and we are looking after the elders,
They
and we're
see
also
us
looking
an
after
example,
as the youngsters, and with that, because it's so much glorified, these incorrect relationships, it's so much glorified, and it's very important that we realize that, and we wake up and we tackle that in our mosques, and we tackle that with our children, and hopefully create, because we've got so many as a result of living in this country, there's problems of I was alluding to in terms of networks as well, to find a suitable wife for the child, for the son, or a suitable husband for the daughter, and maybe set up these kind of networks, or I don't know, community events where this can be facilitated.
Halal dating, you mean?
I'm talking about between the guardians rather than between the individuals. Okay. The guardian, in Islam, the way we protect this kind of relationship is through the guardian. So the guardian takes an active role. I think where you alluded to earlier, arranged marriage, people have connotations in terms of what is an arranged marriage, where, because it has been practiced in India and maybe parts of Pakistan, where they haven't even seen the husband, or they haven't even seen the wife, and they had suddenly wake up and they're living with someone. Islam does not recognize that.
That's not the concept of arranged marriage that Islam talks about.
Arranged marriage in Islam, it has to be with consent. So the person, there has to be a consent. Otherwise, that marriage is null and void. It's not accepted in
But
Islam.
the irony is, more of the arranged marriages seem to work better and last than the so-called love marriage, where two individuals have just come together,
unconditional love,
and the secret behind that is, I believe, is that it's where two families have come together, and two families come together to make this relationship work.
But that's the problem. Then are you marrying this person, or are you marrying the family? Well, I'll have to stop you here because we're out of time. We'll have to do a show on arranged marriage. I think that's an interesting topic. Jazakallah khair for you brothers coming down. Alhamdulillah, we've had a thought-provoking discussion, issues to reflect on, inshallah. I encourage everyone to understand the different type of relationships that are presented as alternative to marriage. You really look into that. And how can we best protect our community and the wider society? It is a testing time as we are bombarded with ideas of free mixing, promiscuity, and highly sexualized society, which pollutes the Muslim minds and creates confusion in terms of what is the correct relationship that will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakallah khair to our guests for coming down. And a special thanks to all our listeners for listening and contributing to this show. You can download any of our previous shows that you may have missed. Our website is straight-talk.co.uk. You can follow us on Twitter at Middle Path Radio and continue with this discussion. Again, thank you for listening to Middle Path Radio. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.